With the pandemic happening, 2020 has certainly been a difficult year for Marvel movies, but Marvel Studios has still found a way to bring us a new TV series called The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Although we're hoping that this new series can clear up a lot of still unanswered questions that the MCU has left us with. Today we'll be diving into the 10 things that we need to see from this new TV series, but first if you could please smash that like button, we would really appreciate your support. Coming in at number 10, USA and Russia relations. America and Russia have always had an interesting relationship, and by interesting I mean contentious? The same thing has played out on the pages of many comic books, but especially when it involved heroes such as Captain America, Falcon, or the Winter Soldier, all of which have been deeply embedded in the fight between these two nations over the course of many decades. Now, while the MCU never really expanded too much on the exact political tensions between these two countries, we think getting to see more of that in the new Falcon and Winter Soldier show would really add to the background of their story. There's multiple different political moments that they could explore in this show involving our two heroes that could even fill in the gaps with previous movies. Plus, if Bucky is going to be working with Falcon, they're going to need to explain whether or not he was granted immunity, because if you recall, he's a former Russian assassin who committed a ton of really heinous crimes. I mean, he was brainwashed, but it's going to be hard to prove that in court. Hopefully, with a good reference from the remaining Avengers, the country can accept him as some reformed hero. Coming in at number 9, Sam Wilson's past. One thing we never really got any info on in the MCU was Sam Wilson himself, which seems really odd considering the fact that they were passing Captain America's shield over to him in the last film. He made his debut in Captain America Civil War, and in his conversations with Steve, we found out that he was a former pararescueman in the US Air Force, although for the most part he has remained as a background character that we never really got too much from. So it will certainly be interesting to see an entire TV series with him. Well, and Bucky as well, but you know, for me personally, when I learn more about a character's backstory, it makes the older movies with them even better, because now you're watching it with that new view of who they are, which gives their actions a whole new purpose in your own mind. It's interesting, and it definitely is something that we need to see in this show. I'm sure they'll come through with it, I just don't see how they could do the show without doing that. Coming in at number 8, the Avengers Status. Following the death of Tony Stark in Avengers Endgame, and with Steve going back in time to live out his life with Peggy, the two main leaders of the Avengers are now gone. I mean, who knows at this point if they are even still going to be really working together as a team. I think the thing that we just need to see more of from this show in particular is more focus on the sort of old school buddy cop thing that Falcon and Winter Soldier will hopefully have going on. Plus, if we want to watch the Avengers, there are several movies that we can go back and do that with. I think constantly reviving the team for one last job would get tiring real quick, but I would appreciate even small conversational moments where they make some reference to the Avengers so we at least have some updates or closure on the matter. Coming in number 7, hero acceptance. Now, if there's one thing that the show may have to address, it's the recent Black Lives Matter movement. Having a black Captain America sounds like an exciting idea, but to not acknowledge and incorporate the real-life issues facing black Americans would be a bit of a misstep for the show's production. This is a real opportunity to show that America is capable of unity, and in addition to that acceptance, the show will also have to explore the acceptance of just Bucky and Sam as heroes. As I've mentioned, Bucky doesn't have the best history with US relations, and then on top of that, Sam was considered a criminal by the US government in Captain America Civil War. With Thanos coming, this pulled all of the focus away from these smaller details, but now with the Mad Titan being a thing of the past, who knows how the government will react to Sam now. Plus, we shouldn't forget that there will also be another competitor for the mantle of Captain America in the show. You see, earlier in the year, photos from the set of the show revealed that the character known as US Agent will be making an appearance. In the comic books, US Agent had a brief stint as Captain America, so it will be interesting to see how they will play this whole thing out. Coming in number 6, Steve Rogers time travel. Now, as we all know, one cannot just travel through time with no consequences, and with Steve Rogers deciding to take the timeline into his own hands, we have yet to witness the full extent of the impact this made on the timeline. I mean, time travel was required for Endgame, and if you were Steve, how could you not pass up that opportunity to, finally have that dance with Peggy Carter? He was there to return the Infinity Stones anyways, but it's hard to believe that he stayed there for so many decades. I mean, you gotta think, now that he has inserted himself into the past, he's therefore interacted with the timeline in a completely different way. Hopefully there will again be at least some alluding or hints at small changes that have been made by his decisions to do this, but again, I feel like not capitalizing on this would be a big misstep for the show. Coming in at number 5, TV show crossovers. Who doesn't love a good TV show crossover? I mean, one of my favorite Family Guy episodes is when they meet the Simpsons, or when they go to Springfield, I guess. Marvel in particular have already set themselves up nicely to have some incredible TV show crossovers. I mean, the Netflix shows are much grittier than that of the MCU, but with Disney acquiring the rights from Netflix this month, we can expect that there will be some cool crossovers going down. At the very least, we need to see either the Falcon or the Winter Soldier making some mention of Hell's Kitchen. See, a lot of what I believe we really need from the show is just mentioning these other parts of the universe to really let the viewer immerse themselves into the storyline. Plus, even having the prospect of the Punisher, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, or Daredevil showing up would be amazing, you know? Who knows, maybe Bucky will need a lawyer to get himself out of some legal trouble. Here's hoping. Coming in at number 4, Alien Threat. The threat of outside forces has always been of concern for the Avengers and other heroes on Earth, which is why Tony Stark's mission was to create a suit of armor around the world. Turns out, he was right. The Earth ended up facing a cataclysmic event that wiped out half of all life on the planet after aliens invaded. So what we would love to see in this show is some sign again that Tony Stark did not die in vain. We're hoping that the governments around the world at the very least went back to look at Tony's original protection plan. But again, here's hoping. Coming in at number 3, will Hydra return? Phase 2 of the MCU had set up Hydra as the main antagonist that for the most part was dominating and had their agents hidden in every sector. Although not too long after in the timeline, Hydra had seemed to have vanished after its most important members were killed off. Although for an organization as big as Hydra was, it seems too clean of a storyline wrap up to just have them disappear altogether. What we would love to see is if the show will bring in some deeper hidden faction from the previous Hydra that have been working in secret. I mean, they've usually been working in secret, but this time they could easily be hiding with multiple other threats that superheroes have been facing. In the middle of difficulty lies opportunity, and even villains know this. So it's possible that now with a divided group of Avengers and perhaps a battle over who will be the new Captain America, Hydra may seize this opportunity to strike again. Coming in at number 2, the government PostSnap. If you recall, Thunderbolt Ross, who was the former Lieutenant General of the United States Army, appeared briefly at the end during Tony Stark's funeral. For a long time before this, the General had been a constant pain in the side of the Avengers, especially during Infinity War. Although much like Hydra, a lot of the attention was shifted off of him once Thanos arrived and presented a bigger threat. Though after the snap, one can only imagine the impact that this had on the existing government officials, especially when it comes down to who was responsible for what went down in Captain America Civil War. I mean, what we need is for the show to explore more of how this post-snap world is operating in comparison to the reality that we remember before Thanos ever arriving. Although because old Thunderbolt made an appearance at the end, you know he will certainly play a role in some form when it comes down to heroes interacting with the army. Coming in at our number 1 spot, Steve Rogers' return. Now, the likelihood of a Steve Rogers return seems unlikely, considering that Chris Evans basically viewed his old man Steve as a curtain call for that character. That being said, come on, how great would a Steve Rogers return be? That is something that we definitely need at least once. Even if old Steve trying to work on a Zoom call to catch up with his best friends, I'd be happy with that. Just because Steve gave up on being Captain America doesn't mean he isn't still going to be friends with the 2 title characters of the show. Those are literally his best friends, and he's still alive. He's just old. Although I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that Spider-Man Far From Home showed him as an in memoriam collage, which implied that he may have died. However, the only true way to know is if the show confirms it, so let's hope he's still alive. Because Spider-Man Far From Home would be wild in some time. With that though, let's check out some of your comments for the video titled Top 10 Most Unfair Superhero Fights Part 2. Quasar Jones says, in terms of lame Superman powers, apparently he used his amnesia kiss against the female puzzler to make her forget that she's supposed to be a villainess. I mean, smart plan, but yeah, lame power. Female puzzler. Why do we need to repeat characters? Josh Dolan says, Johnny's the top 10 host that you just want to go grab a beer with. Funny enough, not a big drinker, but I appreciate the comment. Code Red says, no one had more unfair fights than Batman. He fought gods, monsters, superpowered aliens, metas, and Superman on almost a daily basis. This is very true. We could do top 10 most unfair fights that Batman had to do. Probably a better worded title than that, but I like that. Galaxy Eyes Garchomp says, wait, what possessed Dazzler to believe that she could take Dr. Doom in a frontal assault? I don't know, but I'm assuming alcohol may have played a factor. Maybe she was at the roller rink and she was like, there's that Dr. Doom. I'm gonna skate at it really fast. She had to be drunk. Raven Blaze says, Johnny is on everyone's channel it now seems. Hey, I just go where I'm needed, you know? If they need help on Top 10 Nerd, I come on Top 10 Nerd. If you need me on Top 10 Beyond the Screen, I'll be there. Where am I mostly? In Form Overload. But for now, that has been the top 10 things that we need to see in Falcon? Let's try that again. But for now, that has been the top 10 things that we need to see in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Thank you so much for watching. And if you don't want to miss another Top 10 Nerd video, make sure you tap that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. For now, I've been your host, Johnny Rogers, and until next time, stay classy, YouTube.